So if he were to run here in Nairobi, that would be a massive, massive upset for Jubilee, or the handshake crew, as they'd like to call themselves. They already suffered a humiliating defeat in Msambweni, and they saw that this one, hapa kimeumana. So you have to rush quickly and subvert legal processes. Now I hear people saying, oh, she's been legally vetted. My whole point is she was not vetted at all. In terms of, she was vetted, but she was not appointed by a governor because there is no governor. So if you are trying to say that she can legally assume her position as deputy governor, it is illegal. It is an assault on the rule of law because there was no governor in place at this moment last week when she was, on Friday, when she was brought in as deputy governor. Where is the governor? Show me the governor. And if this was really supposed to be the case, why do we have the speaker in acting capacity for 60 days? The confusion here is part and parcel of the assault on the rule of law, assault on the constitution, and assault on the sovereign will of the people of Kenya. That's what it boils down to. And what scares me so much is the impunity with which this takes place. The proponents of this impunity will say, mutadu, utadu. This is what we constantly get. When you have, I go back to Kariobangi evictions, because at the end of the day, this has to boil down to the citizens, the residents of Nairobi County. When they were evicted, utadu, there was a court order preventing that eviction. They were still evicted. So if you were to list the ways in which this regime, especially the executive, has subverted the rule of law and acted with impunity, this is just part and parcel of the process. Although I agree that it is egregious because it is assaulting the very elements of devolution that are enshrined in the Constitution of Kenya 2010. And it's a slippery slope. We will lose Nairobi, we will lose Kilifi, we will lose Kisumu, we will lose wherever it suits a regime. And it doesn't even have to be this regime. If a precedent is set, future regimes might say, okay, with a level of impunity, we can proceed to subvert, to change boundaries, to bring the military in. Who cares whether Major General Badi is a nice man or Deputy Governor Kananu is a nice lady? It's not about their niceness or their competence. It's about the Constitution and fidelity to our Constitution. So we have to keep reminding ourselves this thing as citizens of this country. And while we watch the erosion of the rule of law, this is really part of the process of the destruction of the Constitution by those who have hated it since its promulgation. And we see it, even what BBI is proposing and what the amendment is proposing, the Amendment Act is proposing, are things that would roll back, claw back and roll back gains that were supposed to be in place for the dignity and advancement of the people of the Republic of Kenya. So I am so concerned about this, but I am not sure how we as Kenyans can rise up, because when we go to court, our petitions are overturned, or there's such a backlog or such a queue that it will be 5 years down the road before this matter is heard. But like I said, the arc of the moral universe is long and it will always bend towards justice.
Solomon, we're talking about a BBI that's supposed to, settle issues, some that have had some historical significance on that, but also try and bring a more cohesive country. If we're actually doing this, let's bring Nairobi County to the fore. We're talking about a potential candidate who still can't get into the country with a government that has ignored court orders left, right, and center to have him come back. This is Miguna. Yet we still want to go and shout from the rooftops about BBI. Doesn't sound very, honest from those who are calling for this particular discussion.
I don't like talking about Miguna, but since you have raised it, I think Miguna, there's what he needs to do for him to be allowed into the country.
What's that? The court has pronounced itself on it. There's nothing else.
And the government has said, let him produce A, B, C, D and come. He has not done that. He has only treated us to the theatrics, Masinema here and there, trying to come, he is not coming. He has been allowed into the country. But before you get in, produce 1, 2, 3. He is not willing to do that. So let him also comply with the requirements.
Because
why I don't like
there are court
activism.
Orders in place.
Because activism...
There's been disobedience of court orders.
Activism makes you lose the proper thinking rationale. You only focus
that is
on the
completely
law.
Insulting and wrong. I'm sorry.
You don't focus on the fact. The fact here is Nairobi has suffered. And Nairobi has suffered in presence of that law people are quoting here, like the religious fanatics.
Solomon, if Nairobi has
just
suffered,
a minute. Let me finish.
If Nairobi has suffered, just a small interjection. If Nairobi has suffered, what shall we say of Kenya?
Let me finish. We lost money in the presence of what you are quoting here. Let us now think properly. Factually, let me ask a very relevant question. Governor Kahiga appointed Karogo as his deputy. Which law did he apply? In fact, we were struggling with the Senate here telling them to actually come up with a law on how to appoint a deputy governor. But the governor went ahead because anything could happen. He could die tomorrow. And let him not die. Karogo will rise without any appointment of any governor. She will rise and become the governor of
But
Nyeri.
those are not the same cases. You are
So,
comparing oranges and apples. The case in Nyeri is not the same as the one in Nairobi.
We have a deputy governor nominee who was nominated by the governor when he was legally in office.
The process of nominating a deputy governor is time-bound.
The only prevailing circumstance that we have here is she has been vetted, approved by the county assembly. We don't have a governor in office. That is where that is the small technicality we should be talking about. But talking about having a governor without going through an election is the biggest achievement. And let us not lie to ourselves. You know, I have heard Jerotich saying that Jubilee is worried about an election. Let me tell you, there is no combination that can fight the combination of NASA and Jubilee in Nairobi. Raila Odinga on one side and Uhuru Kenyatta on one side. Bring anyone else from the other side and you're going to lose it terribly. And I'm telling them, and actually you're going to see it in the near future.
Yes.
It's not that Jubilee is fearing election. In fact, Jubilee would have won in the morning. What I'm telling you here is we are avoiding raising the political temperatures in Nairobi. That is one. Okay. And number two, we are saving this country money.
Those are key points we've been on. I want to get Jerotich in on this one very quickly. We have 5 minutes to go, even as we get into this discussion. Jero, please react to what Solomon has said, because he was referencing your statement as well.
I just want to tell my brother over there that if activists have a problem dealing with...
Okay, there seems to be a small issue with your sound as well, Jero.
Miguna, yes?
Okay, please say that again. There's a problem with your audio. We couldn't hear you.
Oh, so...
Okay, sorry, Jero. There seems to be a small technical hitch with that sound. We'll try and see if we can sort that out in the last couple of minutes, even as we move along. We have 5 minutes on this. I'll come to you, Arnold, because as you can hear, the main argument being given here is that we're willing to bend the law to save Nairobi. The process might be wrong, but we are saving Nairobi. And that's the overwhelming sentiment we're getting from Solomon on this one.
Solomon loves jokes. If you say Nairobi has suffered, I would still ask, what then do we say of Kenya? Businesses are down, the rule of law has actually been bastardized, everything is down south, and the worst part of it is that then...
I think we are discussing Nairobi.
Now, moving on forward, of course, we have to contextualize.
I should have been told we are discussing Kenya.
If we talk about saving the cost, but the president has just spoken a while ago, he's speaking to the Kikuyu Nation over different radio stations, and the president has said he has defended BBI's expenditure, saying that as a country, we misappropriate 2 billion shillings every day, and therefore there is nothing to worry about if we just use 14 billion shillings for BBI. And here, Solomon is busy talking about saving 500 million. The whole president, the CEO of the country is saying, we misappropriate
that is wrong.
2 billion shillings.
That's not what he said. I listened.
That's what he said. Anyway, so, Jeff, I need to say this. The problem we have here is that a few gaps is we have got a bandit system trying to take advantage of the gaps in the law. Over time, the Senate realized, ever since the days of Wambora, then there was Waiguru, there was Cheruyot from Kericho, and a lot of other governors who have found their way to the Senate being impeached, is that there were gaps in the law. So the Senate came up with a bill called the Impeachment Procedure Bill 2018 as a normative framework to ensure that there is administrative justice for anyone who ever has to be removed or impeached. That bill has actually already been expressed in the Senate and is now in the National Assembly. It was supposed to ensure that impeachment processes are followed, as in there is a benchmark. Otherwise, you see, the way we impeach Sonko is differently, the way we impeach Wambora is different, and the way we impeach, it's not standardized. So in and of itself, didn't come up as if it was a just process. So there is a law to correct that particular bit. So Solomon, don't worry, there is a law. If the National Assembly can actually prioritize that, we will not have these problems. And it talks about how you impeach the president, how you impeach, how you remove CSS, how you then impeach even governors and other people. That really needs to be given priority. It's a law that is actually due, because you realize there are a lot of powerful forces that try to play games. Now, you spoke about Nairobi County Assembly being a representative of people. Those guys long ago ceased to be a representative of the people. They are just a conveyor belt, because you see them discussing issues that have been decided elsewhere. You know, like the vetting of Kananu took less than an hour. As in, honestly, even for due diligence, we know the process of doing due diligence. When did they check her papers? When did they listen to her? In 1 hour, the county assembly had already, you know, they were just pretending to vet her. They were not doing anything. But then I need to move to where the problem is. The biggest problem we have here is that we have got a president and a government that really loves counterfeits. That for every original we have, this government, in a way to try and beat accountability, comes up with a counterfeit. So I'll tell you this. We have a county government of Nairobi. This government comes up with a counterfeit called NMS. We have got an existing framework called the VDS, the Vision Delivery Secretariat. This government came up with another counterfeit called PDU. It's always repeating and replicating things that are there. And for a government, the government is not in the business of trying to repeat things that already exist. We have got a constitution of Kenya. They have come up with another counterfeit called BBI. Now, I need to finish by saying this. When they came for Miguna, all of us kept quiet because we were not Miguna. They came for Sonko. We have kept quiet, and we were even cheering because we are not Sonko. They came for the civil society while we were here, and it was mauled and disbanded. It's struggling to come up. We kept quiet like Solomon because we might not be people from the civil society. They came for the opposition, poaching, including domesticating now Raila, ensuring that the opposition is not there. We have kept quiet. Then they came for the business people all over, raiding them and ensuring that business people really do not have an easy time. We kept quiet because some of us are not business people. They came for NAT.
Very quickly, Arnold, because I need to get to Jerotich as well as we wind up.
They came for NAT because, quote unquote, Sosion was the bad problem. We have kept quiet. So all of a sudden, then people realize that soon there will not be anyone to speak for us. It's only fair that at some point as a nation we say enough is enough.
Jero, 1 minute to go. Even as we wind this, I hope we can hear you properly on this one. You're replying to what Solomon had said concerning activism.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Go right ahead.
Okay, you know, if activists are devoid of facts, according to my brother over there, then I would say sycophants are, in fact, an even bigger problem when it comes to obeying and following the rule of law. And we operate on the basis of facts, and I don't hold brief for Miguna. Solomon can say that he has to follow procedure to return to the country, for me, shows exactly what is the problem in Kenya today. We are disobedient to court orders. The court ordered that Miguna indeed was removed from this country and has a right to be back here. So every place you look, there is a procedure and a process that has been violated. There is impunity that runs amok. And at the end of the day, when it comes to the deputy governor, until you show me which governor appointed her post-vetting, this whole process is a sham, and it should and will be nullified. Insofar as elections go, since I'm not a soothsayer, or is what happened in suppose if the notice of the by-election were allowed to, the proof would be in the pudding, and we will win this or not. So at the end of the day, I come back, but I keep underscoring, impunity is rife, disobedience, when it comes to the rule of law and the Constitution of Kenya. And on all of us, whether you label us activists, active citizens, whether we are unionizable people, legislators, members, all citizens of the Republic of Kenya must fight to protect the Constitution of Kenya 2010. And what we saw in Nairobi last Friday is a continued erosion of the same.
Okay, I think at this particular point, Solomon, because of time, what we'll do, we'll leave it at this particular juncture. Let's see what the courts do advise in terms of advisory moving forward on that. But clearly, a lot of passion also coming online as far as this is concerned. Once again, many thanks to Arnold Maliba, Solomon Kuria in studio, giving some analysis and their views concerning what happened on Friday. And of course, Jerotich Seii, who was joining the conversation via video link. Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen and ladies. I want us to move on because, as we told you earlier, we're starting a series today that runs for the next 2 weeks, and it's all about looking forward as to what 2021 holds for the country. Now, the year 2020 dealt the world an unprecedented blow with COVID-19 as a pandemic. However, as we get into 2021, do things get better? Do economies grow? Do we embrace new technologies for the better? Does a COVID vaccine, bring us back from the brink? Throughout the month of January, we seek answers to these questions by getting forecasts and predictions from various experts. Now today, we kick off the series with Professor Peter Kagwanja of the Africa Policy Institute. I spoke to Professor Kagwanja about Kenya's task as a UN Security Council member, continental trade through the Free Continental Trade Agreement, and the ghost of the ICC that is seemingly back to haunt the country. Professor Kagwanja gazes into the K24 crystal ball.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Is it too late in the year to say Happy New Year, or we're still in order?
The year is too young. 10 days into it, or 11.
Okay.
It's still very young.
Fantastic stuff. Thank you so much, for making time and being part of what we're calling the crystal ball. So very quickly, we just want you to look into your crystal ball as you look into matters international affairs, so that hopefully in 12 months' time, we'll circle back and look at some of the analysis and predictions you'll make right here and see what came to be, what didn't, what hadn't we seen might happen between now and December. And for you, we're speaking to matters international affairs. Of course, right now, a couple of days back, Kenya finally gets into the United Nations Security Council. We saw Ambassador Kimani put the flag right there. What's your expectation this year for us in that particular seat?
I think you'll be championing African interests. And African interest focuses on areas of conflict, what we call flashpoints. There are certain gains we've made in a number of ways. Congo will be on the agenda. We're going to have Sudan on the agenda. South Sudan is on the agenda. These are areas where the United Nations have peacekeepers and where stability is needed. We're going also to get major challenge from Somalia. Possibly, if Somalia elects an alternative leader to Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo, then Kenya is going to have it very easy, particularly if you get a leader who can cooperate. Currently, that's not the situation, and therefore the election that is due to take place between now and early February, in about 30 days or so, is going to be determinant of Kenya's success in intervening in Somalia. Obviously, Kenya is not going to be kicked out of Somalia, contrary to euphoric views that are coming from political rhetoric in Mogadishu, because Kenya is not in Somalia as Kenya. It is there as part of the United Nations Security Council. In fact, Kenya's presence in the UN Security Council is going to be safeguard that.
What about the sticky issue of that maritime dispute between us and Somalia?
That is true. Kenya now has an upper hand because it can smooth around with the big boys and continue to do what is happening, basically putting the case in ICC, International Criminal Court, within what you can call, in abeyance, as we try to sort out the question of amicable discussion of that. Somalia has been hawkish about this. Tanzania and Mogadishu are discussing. Tanzania and Mozambique are discussing their common border. South Africa and Mozambique are discussing their common border. South Africa and Namibia are discussing their common border. It's all over, but none of them is getting to the International Court of Justice. So I think Somalia overplayed this. There is an innovation of the maritime trade between the countries of Eastern Africa across the Lake Victoria. And Kenya has renovated the sea lines in Lake Victoria. From MV Uhuru, if you go to Kisumu, it's wonderful. The new Port Bell, right. Station is now up and running, and a lot of goods are now moving from Kenya to Uganda by the rake, and that is now opening up trade. Now, continentally, Kenya is now moving to basically clinch its position on the continent. We have seen opening up of embassies with a very special mandate for what we call economic diplomacy. And most of the offices now embassies opened in Ghana, in many parts of West Africa, in Senegal, and so on, are all geared towards widening Kenya's economic footprint across the continent.
On my checklist right now is now matters legal, international that is, and late last year we got a letter from the AG, and you're speaking to the ICC, and they had asked for assistance as far as Paul Kishero, the lawyer, is concerned, and the AG said that, and this is a quote, it may not be, at this point in time, they may not be able to assist the court as contemplated. This coming off the back of a country that said it was going to strive to have multilateral cooperation once it gets into this Security Council seat. What happens now? Now that they have the seat, yet there's this issue in their backyard. They comply and assist.
The International Criminal Court is a very controversial institution, and the fact that the Americans have, particularly under President Trump, have the relationship has been so strained, has undermined the ICC. Remember, Bensouda